Lyme disease.
Lyme disease.
They're using ticks as bioweapons.
Lyme disease, man.
Lyme disease and
Lyme disease.
At the Babe Ruth place. Among the favorites, the course, tournament, Hogan, Seattle.
Georgia, the whole day through. Just an old sweet song.
There it is.
As grand as it gets.
Why does it have a bad reputation? Well, it all leads down to one thing: storytelling. As more and more storytellers found the hidden gem of the Bermuda Triangle, they began to capitalize on it.
If you're feeling burnout,
burnout.
When was the last time you weren't tired?
Honestly, I don't even remember.
As one of the largest drug trafficking organizations in the entire world.
I give my money right. I had a dream I could buy my way to heaven. When I awoke, I spent that on a necklace. I told God I'll be back in a second.
Well, I think that it was started by Bobby Jones and Clifford Roberts, who founded the club, and that tradition has been carried out by the 8 leaders and the 8 chairmen.
While research has been conducted, there's no widely accepted evidence that ticks have been used as biological weapons in real-world scenarios.
And when the methane bubbles rise to the surface, the gases are released into the atmosphere. So it interacts with the plane as well, and it interacts with the engines, and it can make a mid-air explosion, which causes the plane to crash.
Maybe we aren't ready to leave because no one is always 100% ready.
McLaren's sponsors were immediately put in a difficult position. Their name was attached to the biggest scandal in the sport's history.
The amount of fentanyl that could fit on the top of a pencil is enough to kill you.
And because gambling has become so integrated into everyday life, the line between casual entertainment and unhealthy habit can become harder for people to recognize.
Wait till I get my money right. I had a dream I could buy my way to heaven. When I awoke, I spent that on a necklace. I told God I'll be back in a second. Man, it's so hard not to act reckless.
This is what gambling represents: winning, freedom, a different life.
Wait till I get my money right.
But that's not what most people experience. It used to be a weekend in Las Vegas, but now it's always with you, one tap away.
Gambling isn't new. In fact, it's older than most of civilization itself. For over 5,000 years, people have been drawn to games of chance, risking what they have for the possibility of something more. What began as simple games has grown into something far bigger. Today, gambling is a massive industry. In the United States, it generates tens of billions of dollars, outperforming entire sectors of entertainment. Gambling has survived thousands of years, adapting, expanding, and embedding itself into human society, and it continues to evolve.
And now, the industry has evolved beyond casinos and sportsbooks, into systems designed to keep people playing.
Is there anything that betting apps have done to keep you hooked or keep playing?
Yeah, DraftKings is the one that, after a while of betting and putting enough money in and betting enough, they reached out through text messages and email and asking if I wanted to be part of a VIP thing where this guy would just kind of give me extra boost and stuff like that. So I joined that. I thought it was a hoax at first, and then I joined the VIP thing, and he'll occasionally send me like 50% boost, 100% boost. He sent me a $200 free bet that I could just bet on whatever I wanted to. So it's definitely a tool that they use to keep you hooked and keep you betting. And
Modern gambling companies don't just wait for people to place bets anymore. They compete for the attention constantly. Sports betting apps send notifications throughout the day about profit boosts, bonus bets, and limited time offers, designed to make users feel like they're missing an opportunity if they don't gamble. Even after losing, many apps reward users with free credits or promotional bets, encouraging them to keep playing instead of walking away. At the same time, gambling advertisements are everywhere, featuring celebrities, athletes, and influencers to make betting feel exciting and completely normal.
Now I know it's a Super Bowl and all, but everyone gets a free bet? Man, that's big.
Poppy, so what's cab betting? They short odds?
You're both ludicrous.
Hey, I heard Kevin's taking the under.
The under? Please. I ain't no Undertaker. Hey, I'm watching you like a hawk.
Tony Hawk, like the bird?
But these advertisements only show one side of gambling, the wins, not the losses.
What was the most you have lost in gambling? Give a story if available.
The most in one bet is probably, I put $500 on a bet out of frustration from losing other bets. Figured it was a good way to try to win my money back, so I think $500 is probably the biggest bet I put down and lost.
Combined with the fact that these apps are available 24 hours a day on nearly every phone, modern gambling has become harder to ignore and even harder to escape. And part of the reason modern gambling has become so effective comes down to psychology. When people gamble, the brain releases dopamine, a chemical connected to reward, motivation, and pleasure. But dopamine isn't only triggered by winning. It's also released during anticipation, the moment before the outcome is known. That uncertainty creates excitement, which can keep people coming back to place another bet. Over time, repeated gambling can strengthen these reward pathways in the brain, making the feeling of excitement more difficult to ignore. Because of this, even near misses can encourage people to continue gambling.
And what was your biggest potential payout?
So the biggest one, though, was the Super Bowl. I kind of put in a sarcastic bet that had like 10 different legs of it, that each guy had to do a certain thing. 9 out of the 10 hit, and I needed one guy, the backup running back for Seattle, to get, it was like 2 more yards, and a $10 bet would have paid me over 10 grand. And I missed it from one guy just not getting 2 yards.
Modern gambling has removed many of the barriers that once limited how often people could gamble. In the past, gambling usually required traveling to a casino, making it something separated from everyday life. Today, online betting apps have made gambling instant and constantly accessible. Unlike the crowded casino floors of the past, online gambling often happens alone, making the experience feel more private and less noticeable. There are no flashing lights or public atmosphere, just constant access to the next bet. And because gambling has become so integrated into everyday life, the line between casual entertainment and unhealthy habit can become harder for people to recognize. Researchers have found that increased accessibility of online gambling is associated with higher rates of problematic gambling behaviors, especially among young users. Studies have also shown that faster forms of gambling, such as live betting and online sports betting, can increase impulsive decision-making and repeated betting. And because online gambling happens privately, many people may not recognize the amount of time or money they're losing until the effects become more serious. Younger generations are also growing up in a world where gambling is more visible than ever. Through social media, sports broadcasts, and online advertisements, gambling has become heavily connected to entertainment and digital culture. And because many young people are introduced to gambling through phones and apps, the risk can become harder to recognize.
What would your piece of advice be to the younger generation about gambling as a whole? You guys can both answer this.
I mean, I think there's a time and place for everything. I think I would give you guys the same advice that I would give you when it comes to alcohol when you become of age, right? Like, it's about being responsible. It's about knowing your limits. And it's really about knowing what your own personal limit is versus somebody else. If you know that this is something that I can fall into a deep hole into, it's probably something that you probably shouldn't touch, right? But at the same time, you know, it's like I said before, and I'll keep saying this, you really have to analyze what your relationship with money and wealth is. Am I doing this because I want to get a quick fix? Am I doing this just because it seems like a fun game to play at the same time? Or is this something that I want to do consistently? And if it's something that I want to do consistently, is this a really good way to steward the money that God has given me in my life and for my family?
After all the advertisements, promotions, and constant access, gambling today feels very different than it used to. It's no longer just a casino or a poker table. It's phones, sports games, notifications, apps people carry with them every day. And because of that, gambling has become easier to normalize and easier to ignore. What used to feel like an occasional activity can slowly become part of someone's routine. And for some people, that's when the real problems begin. It used to be a weekend in Las Vegas. Now, it's a part of everyday life.
Alright, we good? Yeah. Tell me when. My name's Ryan Thompson.
I'm Reed Fist. I'm Tristan Chadwick.
I'm Ava Melton.
I'm Cameron Williamson.
I'm Maya Baird.
And I'm Burnt Out.
And I'm burnt out. And I'm burnt out.
We're burnt out.
And I'm burnt out.
If you're feeling burnout,
burnout. When was the last time you weren't tired?
Honestly, I don't even remember. Really, I just get up, get to class, and then I'm normally like 5 to 10 minutes late, which that's not really usual for me, but this senior year has just been dragging on.
You know, I have more projects now than I did throughout the entire course of the year, so I'm completely stressed, I'm completely burnt out.
Been very few days I can sleep in and get rested, so I haven't been at my full 100% in a while.
Research, we found that senioritis is actually a form of burnout. It's really interesting because senioritis is really unique just to seniors going through high school because it's a sort of new identity formation. We're all leaving what we have behind at Valor and our focus is shifting from the little assignments that we have to our future and what's next for us. This new identity formation that we all experience is actually a really, really healthy thing because it shows that we're not just staying in the past and we're ready for the next step in growing and really just figuring out who we are and what we want in our future.
I'm taking the day off. Now get dressed and come on over.
You can't, stupid. I'm sick.
The key to faking out the parents is the clammy hands. It's a good non-specific symptom. I'm a big believer in it. A lot of people will tell you that a good phony fever is a dead lock, but you get a nervous mother, you could wind up in a doctor's office. That's worse than school. You fake a stomach cramp, and when you're bent over, moaning and wailing, you lick your palms. It's a little childish and stupid, but then so is high school. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. I do have a test today. That wasn't bull. It's on European socialism. I mean, really, what's the point? I'm not European. I don't plan on being European. So who gives a crap if they're socialists? They could be fascist anarchists. It still wouldn't change the fact that I don't own a car.
For decades, senioritis has been seen as laziness. And, you know, that comes with skipping class, that comes with slacking off, that comes with, you know, just not doing the assignments, counting down the days. But what if that isn't the full story? What if there is something deeper to senioritis and burnout?
Since senioritis is actually a form of burnout, we found that there are actually 3 dimensions of burnout. And those 3 dimensions are defined as the exhaustion dimension, which is also described as wearing out, just being tired of the little assignments that we have to do. And then that moves into the cynicism dimension, which is actually called depersonalization. That means we get short with the people we love, we're less enjoyable to be around because we're just so tired and we just want to stay in bed and just stay home and just recharge. And then the last dimension is called the inefficacy dimension. This was originally called the reduced personal accomplishment dimension, but it changed. This means that we all just have a really, really hard time doing the things that we love and realizing that all the things that we do are really hard and just feeling accomplished after we do it. It's really hard to recognize yourself as doing really good and working really hard when you have all these assignments and all these athletics and social lives piling up on you, and you just get so overwhelmed and enter that exhaustion dimension.
And I would say the question with that then comes is, are we actually ready to move on, or are we just too burned out to stay?
I think senioritis is a lot of burnout, a lot of exhaustion.
Yeah, burned out of school, but still here just socializing, having fun, but ready to go to college, take the next step.
I don't think a school schedule is that great. I think it's fair to be a student and be I'm pretty tired of the routine. Culturally, I think this is go, 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 and then after you're done going, keep going.
Yeah.
And I think that having a intentional break is also the huge antidote to senioritis. We're made to work, but I think we're also God designed us to rest.
Especially here at Valor, it's really hard to not experience burnout because Valor is such a really hard school and it demands excellence, especially with all the assignments. We're expected to balance a social life, a spiritual life, academics, and athletics, and it gets really, really hard to balance all of those when we have all little assignments.
Do you think the burnout's regular with these seniors right now? They're just so tired and
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a normal cycle that we see with students in general. Students get burnt out, or the senioritis, right? That you get towards the end of the year where you're yeah, I'm just ready to kind of be done.
What does burnout actually look like among seniors here?
Among seniors here, that's not showing up to class late, turning in work that's half done or not done at all, just trying to get the points done. It's really just kind of, we said in the military, but just dropping your pack, just being ready to be done. Class,
I'm not going either. Hey, where are you guys going?
But I do think some of them are done too. As a dean, I see it a lot when students are okay, why am I still getting in trouble for not going to chapel, or I'm missing my PRT, or whatever it is. What's up, dude? So they're ready to just be done with high school, especially the 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds. They're I'm an adult now. I want to make my own decisions. I'm ready to be on to the next thing. Hey, you know what look good? An ID. You got your ID on you?
Same thing
every day. You got to have an ID. I got mine on. You got to have your ID on.
One of my friends got it, maybe.
Let's walk with him. Let's go. Let's go put your ID on. Come on. I think it does. I think it comes from burnout. I think it comes from anticipation, right? Which is a little bit of anxiety, just wanting to do the next big thing, right? If I look at a couple of you guys, right? You got athletes in the room that are all right, I'm ready to go to college and start making a name for myself and proving why they brought me here. And so the time, it can only go so fast. You can't force it.
Especially as a senior, when we experience senioritis the most, it gets hard because Valor assigns a lot of assignments at the end of the year to definitely push us more into that growth phase when we're experiencing senioritis and going into that new identity formation phase of our lives, where once again our focus is shifting from the little assignments at Valor to college and our future so that we can find out who we are and what we want to do.
There's more work now than there was at the start of the year, and we have a bunch of tests on top of tests and projects when finals are in a week and there's more tests than ever, and they're just cramming units in, and it's so tiring, and it's just burning everyone out and no one wants to be here anymore.
We're ready to go and be done with the constant pressure, the constant projects, the constant tests, the constant quizzes, because like I said, they're not meeting us where we're at. They are putting more work on our plates to try to keep us engaged, whereas they should be meeting us where we are at, and understanding where we're coming from.
The old stereotype is that senioritis is laziness, but I think in reality, it's actually burnout. I think everything piled together, the uncertainty, the transition, the extra work, the test, everything, just trying to finish strong in high school, I think a lot of that leads to the burnout and tiredness and ready to be done with high school.
That transition period is just like you're transitioning into like a new place in the world, like new friends, like all new people. And so like that's a lot of, that causes a lot of stress for a lot of people. And then also like the uncertainty of maybe people don't know what they're doing. They don't know where they're gonna be at or really what they're gonna be pursuing for life. And so that's a big stress for them. And then obviously like just the burnout of like the stress piling up for all of these decisions and things that we have to do coming up next. And I feel like all this kind of just comes from like being burnt out with like school and just having so many assignments, like even senior year. Like I'm ready to go to my college and like start life and everything, but I feel like I'm kind of stuck here like doing schoolwork and homework for stuff that just really doesn't feel like it matters that much anymore.
Maybe we aren't ready to leave because no one is always 100% ready. And maybe the last season isn't actually about being prepared, it's more about learning how to leave. And they understood that the burnout isn't laziness, it's more exhaustion and uncertainty in that transition period, that this burnout could be a lot less, and then our teachers could be on the same page as us, and you know, it could be a lot smoother and flow a lot better.
I got the password, yeah, I finally got the password. Added up the numbers, now the math works. I got the way to make the path work. All these lines turning from red to green.
Go fast my whole life as a little kid. It's kind of a dream come true to be up close and personal here with the machines.
And it's lights out and away we go!
Radio check. Another radio check.
I'm on top of you trying to stop me now. I'm on top of you trying to stop me now. I'm on top of you trying to stop me now. I'm on top of you trying to stop me now. I'm on top of you trying to stop me.
Please don't ask me any questions.
What's this stuff we got coming down? And what's the reason for you forever? I can't stand to see that part of my face. Well, I need to put you in your place. So I got my name on it. I'm on top of you trying to stop me now. I'm on top of you trying to stop me now. I'm on top of you trying to stop me now. I'm on top of you trying to stop me now. I'm on top of you trying to stop me now. I'm on top of you trying to stop me now. I'm on top of you trying to stop.
To understand Spygate, you have to go back further than 2007. Ferrari in the early 2000s was untouchable. Michael Schumacher, Ross Brawn, Rory Bryan, and Jean Todt, that group built one of the most dominant runs in Formula One history, winning 5 consecutive Constructors' Championships from 1999 to 2004. And standing right alongside them through it all was their chief mechanic, Nigel Stepney. He had been at Ferrari for 14 years. He genuinely believed that he had helped build that dynasty. And when Schumacher retired and that legendary group began to break apart after 2006, Stepney saw his moment.
At the end of this year, I've decided together with the team that I'm going to retire from racing.
Instead, Ferrari handed him a new title, Head of Team Performance Development. On paper, it sounded fine. In reality, it meant he was being pushed aside. No more races, no more frontline. Ferrari's polite way of saying his time at the top was over. For a man who had dedicated over a decade of his life to the team, it was a crushing blow. And it was the moment Nigel Stepney decided Ferrari was gonna pay for it.
I am looking at spending a year away from Ferrari. I'm not currently happy with the situation within the team. I really want to move forward with my career, and that's something that's not happening right now. Ideally, I'd like to move into a new environment here at Ferrari, but if an opportunity arose with another team, I would definitely consider it.
Stepney didn't walk away quietly. He started talking, specifically to a man named Mike Coughlin, McLaren's chief designer and someone Stepney trusted. Stepney had access to Ferrari's most sensitive internal documents, car schematics, technical reports, performance data, and financial information, all of which covered the 2007 Ferrari F2007, and he was willing to share it. What Stepney passed to Coughlin wasn't a few pages of notes. It was 780 pages of classified Ferrari documents, blueprints, live race strategy, technical specifications, the entire DNA of the 2007 Ferrari. Coughlin now had in his possession everything Ferrari had spent hundreds of millions developing. For McLaren, which was locked in one of the tightest championship battles in years with Ferrari, that information was worth everything. Mike Coughlin's wife Trudy walked into a copy shop and with 780 pages in hand and asked the clerk to scan them onto 2 CDs, completely ordinary requests, except for one thing. Printed on every single page was one of the most recognizable logos in the world, the prancing horse of a Ferrari. The clerk behind the counter happened to be a die-hard Ferrari fan. He noticed the logo, he asked Trudy for her name, and when she left, he Googled it. He found out she was McLaren's chief designer's wife. He then found Stefano Domenicali's contact information, Ferrari's sporting director, and sent him an email describing exactly what he had seen. Domenicali read it the next morning. Ferrari immediately launched an investigation. Trudy, on Mike's instructions, destroyed the original documents, but it was already too late. The countdown had started.
Are investigating the senior race engineer of Ferrari, Nigel Stepney, amid all kinds of allegations and rumors about sabotage and espionage as well.
The FIA opened a formal investigation and found McLaren in violation of Article 151C of the International Sporting Code, the rule that prohibits any act that undermines fair competition. At the first hearing in July 2007, they recommended no punishment. The case looked like it might just quietly disappear.
Then it exploded from within. Fernando Alonso had come to McLaren as a 2-time world champion, expecting to be their clear number 1 driver. Instead, rookie Lewis Hamilton matched him from race 1. Alonso became convinced that a British team with a British boss and British driver was quietly favoring Hamilton over him. At the Hungarian Grand Prix that summer, tensions boiled over completely when Alonso deliberately held Hamilton in the pit lane to ruin his qualifying lap.
But he's definitely putting the harder tyres on. There's Lewis Hamilton queuing up behind him, and have they raised the lollipop to let Alonso out? Yep, they want him out of there. Now Alonso's not getting on with it. Only a minute 40 to go. Is he blocking Hamilton here? Is that a bit of a tactic within the team there to give Hamilton a bit of a headache? I think it might well be. That's really, I don't know if he has, Damon. I think he deliberately did that.
Ron Dennis was furious, and Alonso received a 5-place grid penalty. But Alonso wasn't done. He went directly to Ron Dennis and threatened to release a collection of incriminating emails involving McLaren's test driver Pedro de la Rosa and the entire Spygate affair, straight to the FIA. Dennis didn't take the threat seriously, so Alonso followed through, and he sent everything.
The public reaction was immediate and divided. Ferrari fans felt completely vindicated. Their team had been robbed, and now McLaren was going to face consequences. McLaren fans were furious, arguing the punishment was politically motivated and disproportionate. Polls at the time showed fan trust in the FIA at an all-time low, with many believing the governing body had mishandled the case from the start by initially recommending no punishment at all.
Financial damage extended far beyond the $100 million fine. McLaren sponsors were immediately put in a difficult position. Their name was attached to the biggest scandal in the sport's history. Mercedes, which was McLaren's engine supplier and commercial partner at the time, bore a significant portion of that $100 million penalty. The relationship between the two companies never fully recovered. Within a few years, Mercedes had begun laying the groundwork for their own works team, a direct consequence of the fractured trust that Spygate created. By 2014, Mercedes had taken over as F1's dominant force, a dynasty that may never have happened without the events of 2007. On September 13th, the World Motorsports Council handed down its verdict. McLaren were disqualified from the 2007 Constructors' Championship and fined $100 million, the largest financial penalty in the history of the sports. The drivers Hamilton and Alonso were offered immunity in exchange for their cooperation and kept their individual points. Kimi Räikkönen ultimately won the Drivers' Championship for Ferrari by a single point. Renault was later found to have also owned McLaren's sensitive information, but escaped without punishment, a decision the FIA never fully explained, and one that only depended criticism of the governing body's consistency. As for the man who started it all, Nigel Stepney, was sentenced by an Italian court to 1 year and 8 months in prison for sabotage, industrial espionage, sporting fraud, and attempted serious injury. The FIA blacklisted him from the sport entirely, warning teams not to hire him without extensive background checks. He never returned to Formula One. On May 2nd, 2014, Nigel Stepney walked out of his car onto the M20 highway in Kent and onto the path of an oncoming lorry. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The man who lit the fuse on the biggest scandal in Formula One history left behind more questions than answers.